Joining us now, Corey Lewandowski, Dave Bossie have a brand new bestseller out. It's called Trump's Enemies, How the Deep State is Undermining the Presidency. And by the way, it's on Amazon.com, Hannity.com, bookstores everywhere. And welcome both of you.
Thanks for having us.
Mr. Bossie, you actually said that there was a left-wing conspiracy to take down the president. And while saying that, you said there was a right-wing conspiracy that you agreed with Hillary Clinton when she made those comments back in the day. If there was a conspiracy, I don't know about it because I just did my own thing, and that is cover a pretty corrupt president.
That's exactly right, Sean. I wish I had been able to finish that sentence. But look, there were guys like you and guys like me, and there weren't very many of us. But we all were working to uncover what the Clinton administration were doing. There were 7 independent counsels, the Whitewater investigation, the campaign finance investigation. There were plenty of people who went to prison in that administration. That was real corruption. What the vast left-wing conspiracy, and I was trying to make the correlation that Hillary Clinton said there was a vast right-wing conspiracy. Well, we know that there is a vast left-wing conspiracy undermining this president, and it is the bureaucracy that exists in the government, the Obama holdovers who are still there, the intelligence services that have been corrupting him, whether it's the bad FBI agents. There are, you name it, whether it's Strzok, Page, Comey, McCabe, those guys are all gone now, and that's what we write about in this book, Trump's Enemies, is what the president has been up against, whether it's the mainstream media or congressional weaklings, as you put it.
But Corey, let me ask you, because part of the book, you actually, both you and Dave, interviewed the president, and the president told you in this interview that he thinks that Obama knew. In other words, if the shoe were on the other foot, he's quoted as saying it would be treason and they'd, be locked up for 100 years. I've spent a lot of time on both radio and TV chronicling the abuse of power, corruption scandal involving the deep state. We all know the names Comey, McCabe, Page, Strzok, and a host of other characters involved in this. What did the president say to you guys about it?
Well, this is really probably one of the most explosive things in the book, and so when you pick up the book, we actually print the interview that we did with the president. It's the only time he sat for an interview for a book in the first 2 years, and I asked him, do you think Barack Obama knew of the insurance policy that McCabe and Strzok and Page and Comey and all these guys had on you, or do you think he just had no idea what was going on? And he goes on to say, yes, I think Barack Obama knew, and he said, and if the shoe were on the other foot, if someone had done this to Barack Obama, it would be called treason, and they'd be in jail for 100 years. And that is such a true statement, because we also know, Sean, and our sources are telling us, that there is a series of emails out there of people who attended meetings in the government at the highest levels of the government, and one name and one name only continuously gets redacted of participating in those meetings, and that name we believe to be Barack Obama. So he knew about the insurance policy. He knew that they were spying on American citizens on domestic soil. He knew that they were abusing the Pfizer application, and he clearly did nothing about it. And if Donald Trump hadn't gotten elected, none of us would know anything about this.
Well, I mean, do we ever get that information? Do we ever get those emails?
Well, we need the president to declassify this stuff. So, Sean, you've been on this for a long time. Others have. The president needs to declassify.
Why hasn't he?
Application documents.
We've all agreed, people like you and me and Dave and people like Greg Jarrett, Sarah Carter, John Solomon, all of us that have really done this deep dive into the deep state, we all say the same thing. We should have the unredacted FISA memo, the 302s with Steele and Orr, Bruce Orr, that is, and we should have the Gang of Eight materials, and that these emails would be on top of that. That would be another batch of information.
Well, you're exactly right, and we hope that the president does that. We asked him when he was going to do that. We asked him in the interview if he was going to do it. And if you remember, Sean, look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. He actually ordered the declassification of the documents, and within 24 hours, those bureaucrats around him, the deep state around him, convinced him to let the IG handle this in his own way and to come up with the information. That has now been, 8 weeks ago, and we still don't have it. There are people who surround this president who don't have his best interests in mind and don't have the country's best interests in mind.
Dave Bossie, why are they still there if they surround the president?
Well, Sean, we, the three of us, we wish that the president would understand which ones are good for him and which ones aren't. But he has recognized, if you look at Rex Tillerson, you look at Gary Cohen, you look at some of these other actors that were in the administration that are no longer there, he has made changes. And we wish he would make some more. But look, we want this information out there. The American people deserve it. The Mueller investigation is based on a fraud. And when the Mueller investigation ends, that report, the American people need to see it in its entirety. And I hope that that's the case, because after 2 years and tens of millions of dollars of taxpayer dollars being spent on this ridiculous charade of an investigation where there's been not one scintilla of evidence about collusion or cooperation with the Russians, because there wasn't any, this president beat Hillary Clinton. She ran a terrible campaign. She was a terrible candidate, and the American people voted for Donald Trump.
But the great irony is everything we've discovered, and that there actually was Russian interference, and it was bought and paid for by Hillary.
Right.
More importantly, we learned about surveillance abuse, unmasking abuse, leaking intelligence, like in the case of General Flynn. We never got to the bottom of all of that. We have FISA court fraud at a high level. They never did the verification. They never corroborated Hillary's bought and paid for Russian lies. That actually high-ranking government officials disseminated that information before the election and then used it to bludgeon Trump as, quote, part of a media leak strategy and an insurance policy. That's all now irrefutable at this point.
And the president, in our interview that we conducted with him, that is in our book, Trump's Enemies.
And it's a 45-minute interview. This is a long interview.
It is a long, wide-ranging interview, but he talks about how he believes that Barack Obama knew, in the president's words, he knew about us, the campaign, being spied on. He recognizes that the bad FBI agents, the Strzok and Pages of the world and the McCabe's, were using leaks of information that they had, giving it to reporters, then using those articles that the reporters would print to go to the FISA court, to go and use as investigative.
By the way, knowing it's one source, the one source was Christopher Steele, who in an interrogatory in Great Britain, he wouldn't even back up his own dossier.
Exactly right, Sean. This is a dangerous game that Comey and others were playing, and they were trying to delegitimize from the beginning that the president was elected, and that is 60-plus million Americans voted for Donald Trump, and one man, James Comey, tried to overturn that.
Let me go. There's a lot that has been brought up. I know you guys were on some of the Sunday shows this weekend, and Corey, the issue of you and General Kelly and an altercation you had. I just want to hear it in your own words. What happened?
You know, Sean, I don't want to get into what may or may not have happened, but I'll tell you this. John Kelly and I have had very candid conversations when I don't think the president is being served well by his team. I'm a person who is going to speak his mind, and I think the president deserves that. And so I've told John Kelly, going back over a year, that I was concerned that the political operation in the White House wasn't what it should have been. We've now seen some of those results come to fruition with the midterm elections, and I continue to worry that some people in that building that are supposed to be working for the president are working to undermine him. And I'm the type of person who's going to tell him that, and I'm going to tell the president that if asked. And so I know that bothers some people sometimes, but look, I think it's my obligation and my duty to be fair and honest, and I don't want a job in the building. I don't want to go work for the government. I love doing what I'm doing, so I'm going to give my best advice and counsel to the president and to his senior leadership team every chance I can.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. The book is called Trump's Enemies, How the Deep State is Undermining the Presidency. Corey Lewandowski, Dave Bossie on the other side. Right, as we continue, Corey Lewandowski, Dave Bossie are with us to talk about their new book, Trump's Enemies, How the Deep State is Undermining the Presidency, in bookstores everywhere, Hannity.com, Amazon.com, wherever you shop for your books. One of the things I like a lot about the book is you both know the president well. Both of you have had ongoing relationships with the president. We've all followed this. It looks like the Mueller issue is going to come to an end, just as now the House is taken over by Pelosi and Maxine Waters and Gerald Nadler and Adam Schiff. What advice do you give the president, Dave, in terms of these guys? How do you deal with it?
Well, you know, I think having a lot of experience, as you know, Sean, I was the chief investigator in the House during the Clinton years. This needs to be taken very seriously. The House Democrats, I believe, will overplay their hands. They'll do too much. But that doesn't mean that this White House doesn't need to be prepared. And Pat Cipollone, the new incoming White House counsel, needs to be 100% prepared. He needs to build a team of lawyers and communication experts. Okay, so you remember back in the Clinton years, it was Mark Fabiani and Chris Lehane. Those guys were the lawyers, the communication experts and lawyers for the Clinton White House. And you have to go to battle stations. You have to take it very seriously, because whether it's Mueller or the Democrat-controlled House, subpoenas and depositions can truly
it can paralyze if you're not.
It can paralyze.
You have to fight. I only have about 30 seconds. We'll give Corey the last word. Corey.
You know, Sean, the book, Trump's Enemies, it's a great read. It's Cyber Monday. People should go out and get it. And what they should understand, that if Donald Trump had not won this election, we would know nothing about the abuses that too many men and women at the highest levels of the FBI did on American citizens because they didn't agree with them politically. The American people are awake to it. And the other thing in this book, and Donald Trump talks about it, is the fake news. And he has pointed out how wrong the fake news has been so often, and it's one of his biggest accomplishments since he's been the president.
All right, Corey Lewandowski, Dave Bossie, their brand new book, Trump's Enemies, How the Deep State is Undermining the Presidency. Bookstores everywhere, Amazon.com, Hannity.com. Thank you both, and we'll be seeing you on TV this week, Corey and Dave. Thanks.
Thank you.